Look out below for Bitcoin, as Thursday going to be the more dangerous day, typically speaking. As far as the higher term timeframes go, the message is more or less unchanged. Bitcoin playing at the short term bounce we were looking for yesterday, $6,000-7,000. But as Thursday does come in the view, well, I do believe that there's a little bit more awareness on the short term timeframes, still to the downside as pressure does mount. Now, this is, at least in my opinion, the very tricky portion of the market, because long term and even medium term, the views on this channel are very much unchanged. Still long term upside. And realistically, I want to not make a mistake that I made in markets past in getting too bearish in regions like this. I'm already starting to see it across crypto Twitter, crypto YouTube, Discords, and all that sort of great stuff. And this is something that I messed up in the past, where you get your first sort of bearish signal, and then all of a sudden you're looking down towards $0 or 10,000 or 20,000 or 30,000, whatever the fuck. At the end of the day, it's likely an opportunity, especially as we went over in yesterday's video. So, we got the bounce yesterday, but bounce, not the same thing as reversal. As long as Bitcoin is still below $69,000, great number right there. Downside pressure is still more likely in the short term. So let's just jump right into it. Starting off with our daily statistics for Thursday. We do see that Thursday is the most likely day to close negatively, with 39.5% of all Thursdays measured since 2023, where this bull market did start, closing negatively, 39.5% closing positively, thus meaning that over 60% were closing negatively. And it also does have the highest negative return day as well, with an average loss of 1.78%. I do believe that would, if we put that into numbers for Bitcoin, that would put Bitcoin somewhere down around, the last couple days, wick lows in upper $64,000 territory. Of course, in the event that we do see the opposite side of that play out, the average return for the winning side was about just under 2%. So let's see what that would look like on top of current price action. And that actually put Bitcoin back above yesterday's high, closer to 67,300 or so. If Bitcoin were to close back above that number, things start to look a little bit more interesting, but still, anything below $69,000 is just, irrelevant, at least in my opinion, for the time being, as far as overall trend goes. So, bounces can bounce more, but just doesn't really do all that much. Anyways, moving on from there, let me get my notes back and running over here. I do want to call out the bearish things for sure. I mean, the weekly does have bearish divergence on the weekly RSI for CME. Also a bit of a head and derp right there as well, with a left derp ahead and a right derp over here. I trust this a lot more on a momentum oscillator like the RSI than I do on price action, especially when it breaks the right shoulder with the exponential as well, moving to the downside. So, that is a consideration. But when you see a very shallow sort of divergence like this, because on price action, the divergence between it's like basically between 69,600 and just under $72,000, which is very, very small percentage wise, it's probably not going to be a big move to the downside. Very likely we do see a move somewhere around this cyan moving average right here, which is currently hovering around about $62,000. But I think worst case scenario at this, at this point, I don't even think this is going to happen, to be honest with you. Maybe you see the 21 hit right over here, but realistically, though, the 21 doesn't typically get hit until you start to have real divergences, which we don't have as of right now. So that is certainly in play. So, short term, somewhere down around there overall could certainly make sense. That's not out of the question at all. Of course, we go down here into the 4-hour time frame. We can also see that Bitcoin is more or less filling the gap that we did see put in from Friday the 22nd. So a couple weekends ago, I do believe that is, which is also be kind of in alignment with the 200 moving average right here as well. Just move that up. There you go. So, it's probably a sticky area for the short term, as Bitcoin does try to, base off of that region. So maybe you see it stabbed, maybe you see it stabbed a few more times. But if you start to see Bitcoin grind up upon it, that would be a good indication that Bitcoin's getting ready for the actual bounce, if you will. And at that point, and another reason why I do think that it's unwise to get super bearish right here. Whoops. It's also unwise to just draw fucking lines all over your chart as well. But here we go, is that hidden bullish divergence is already starting to form on the other side. Now, it is not actionable in any way, shape, or form as of this moment, but you can see that even on the 2-day RSI, the RSI is making significantly lower lows than the lows that we saw back and over on the 18th of March right here. and even getting close to the lows that we saw way back when over here at 43,000 bucks. So you can imagine that if it did come down to about 62,000 or just above 62,000 bucks, you know, that is going to start to become a more interesting proposition. Same thing on the 5-day as well, or sorry, was it the same thing on the weekly? Yeah, no, it's actually not right there. So fair enough. But the daily and 2-day has a yes. That's the time frame I was looking for. The daily is also making lower lows on the daily RSI than the 22nd, and then even the 21st of February. The 21st of February Bitcoin, yeah, was trading all the way over here at 50,000 bucks. So again, I do think, you know, worst case scenario, maybe you see something into like the mid or low $50,000, but you know, as of right now, I think it's more likely that you do see Bitcoin just grind this area out. You probably see a low somewhere closer to the halving itself, again, based off of the big chart that we were going off of on yesterday's video. And okay, after that, it might get boring for a while. That's completely fine. I mean, it's been, you know, fucking vertical for the past couple months. Kind of expect that, you know, marks don't go in a straight line to the upside or the downside typically. So, you know, probably take some time just shaking shit out. You know, and during this time, you're probably going to see people get like super bullish anytime Bitcoin has a slight move to the upside, and super bearish anytime Bitcoin has a slight move to the downside. I mean, this is just, in my experience, the absolute purpose of this sort of portion of the market, or, you know, of the market cycle is that, you know, people get, I mean, look, for fuck's sake, because I see this on Twitter all the time. Look, Bitcoin's like 5,000 bucks down from the highs. It's a very small percentage move, technically speaking. Hasn't done anything really. Hasn't. I mean, yes, it has a potential lower high right here. No lower low. Until you get a lower low, you don't have a downtrend, and there's really no concern, at least from my behalf, as long as that is consistent. So you know, getting too on the side of, you know, of one particular way is just a recipe for fucking disaster. So you're gonna see a lot of people get super bearish when Bitcoin comes down to low 60,000 bucks if they're not already, because I already see that shit. And you're gonna see people get super bullish the next time Bitcoin comes back up close to 69 or 70,000 bucks. Realistically, you're going to see a range likely for a little bit of time. I expect that April is probably going to be a more or less muted month, you know, not a whole hell of a lot going on. Anyways, moving on from there, we do still see that daily stochastic momentum is positioned to the downside. This is actually 5-day right here. The current pivot for the 5-day is 71,000. That is closing tonight, by the way. So again, you know, short-term pressure to the downside does certainly exist. Daily time frame also can be to the downside with the red dot of death right there as well, as long as Bitcoin's below 70,000. And then the 2-day, which I think actually also is probably any tonight. No, it's not any tonight. It's any tomorrow night. It's also positioned to the downside as long as Bitcoin's below 70,600. So yeah, you know, in the short term, Bitcoin probably is going to test some downside. So where are the areas of interest? Well, we've already kind of spoken about 62,000-ish. That is also going to be caught on the daily HPDR bands over here. We can see that the next level, the 78.6 level, is actually just above 62,000. This is on CME, by the way, and there is still a premium over spot price action by a few $100. And this is a downside setup here for, you know, to be fair. Volatility is rising, directional volatility is showing down, and price is trying to trend below the 61.8, so it's actually technically not there just yet. But if you start to see closures below there, yeah, somewhere down around low 62 is quite likely. Things could even go, you know, to like 60,000 even. Completely fine. I mean, it's not complete. It's not fine. It's just, you know, these would be the areas of interest upon continuation. But for right now, you know, I do expect that coming into the halving, downside pressure remains. Personally speaking, I don't think it's going to be a time to be getting too damn bearish. As long as Bitcoin, you know, if Bitcoin does drop below 60,000 bucks, I would look at that as an opportunity. Can stay down there for a little bit of time, yes, but we would expect after the halving, it does use that as kind of like a buoy, like a bouncy region. For fuck's sake, check out yesterday's video if you want more information on that. And I think that we probably beat this horse to death at this point for today's video. I guess I should also talk about, like, okay, what would be indicative of a reversal to the upside in this case? I think the most obvious thing would be coming back above 69,000 bucks and closing a daily above there. Other than that, you know, you can look at these levels as relevant to the upside right here, the 50% and the 38.2 level, but they're not relevant for trends. So I don't think that's I don't think it's worth calling out. And I do think that it is less likely, although it doesn't necessarily mean that it's destined to happen, I guess. But still, as long as the daily stochastic oscillator is positioned to the downside, it's a corrective period. It's very likely a corrective period. Seeing this sort of, a read here with the rejection at the critical zone many a time. It's not the time to be bullish, like for continuation. It's not the time. I don't think it's time to be super bearish, but downside pressure is the name of the game for right now. Probably tighter margins, to be honest. So yeah, I think that's probably a good place to maybe leaving off on this particular video. Is there anything else that I want to say? I forget. I forget. Well, we have another video tomorrow anyway, so fair enough. Or maybe not. Maybe it's the first day in over 6 years now that we won't be doing a video. Who knows? Who knows? I always love when I get that message. Bro, is there no video today? Yes, sir. It's the first day in fucking 6 years that I'm not going to do a video, like, for fuck's sake. Anyways, with that said, much love. Take care. Much love. And see you hopefully tomorrow for, I don't know, there might be a video or not. Who knows? It's a surprise.